So let's jump right into this week's episode where we focus on Hawaii's courts. To start us off, I was able to visit with Chief Judge Mark Browning of the First Circuit Court here on the island of Oahu. Judge Browning was able to tell me about how the courts have been operating throughout the pandemic, the adjustments they've made, and the benefits of an increasingly digital judicial landscape. Thank you, Judge Browning, for having me here in your chambers and in the First Circuit Court. So, what is your job title here at the Circuit Court?
I am the Chief Judge of the First Circuit, which means I'm in charge of all the trial courts across this particular island.
From your point of view, what has been the biggest challenges for the courts operating in the times of COVID-19?
First and foremost has always been the safety of our employees and the judges and all the folks that dedicated their lives to the judiciary. And of course, as important or more important is the safety of the public.
So courtrooms typically are places of public gathering, of social gathering and work, and really business, essential business of the state. And the courts have had to physically change to accommodate. So what are some of these changes that you folks have instituted here in the courts?
Well, first off, I think if you go to the three main courthouses across the island of Oahu, you'll see that that one of the things that everything is really centered around safety. That extends also into our courtrooms. So in our courtrooms, everything has been measured out to be able to maintain social distancing and of course, the mask mandate, those kinds of things.
So how have these physical changes impacted the work of the judiciary, particularly the changes in the courtroom?
In one respect, it has required us to go slower because, the number of people that can be in a particular courtroom has to be limited. So cases have to be staggered. I think, on the other hand, what we've seen is that we have courtrooms where there are not a lot of people, but everything is being done virtually. One of the questions that we're thinking about is what are we going to be able to, from what we've learned and in terms of what we are doing now, what lessons are we going to be able to use to improve the court process? When the pandemic first hit, I think one of the things that it did is it catapulted the judiciary from the 20th century into the 21st century. I wanted to keep stats. I wanted the data to show us what was working, what wasn't, what adjustments we needed to make. So one of the interesting aspects of the data has been is that more people are attending the traffic virtual hearings since the pandemic. What we're doing now virtually in those types of settings is giving greater access and easier and comfortable and convenient access to the public to our court system.
So it actually cuts down on litigation costs, so that could be overall good for the system.
Actually, we conducted a full-blown trial. It was a complicated case, and it was a bench trial. It was all Zoom. We try to be innovative and think outside the box. And we're really not about we can't do it. We're really about how can we do it. And we take the problem and understand that one of the roles that we have is to be problem solvers so that we provide access. So when it comes to sort of these issues like backlogs, let's take for example, the COVID violations, where we had that were classified as misdemeanors. There were 66,000 of those cases. And, normally in just a year, you'd have 22,000. And we had 66,000 violations sent to us by the HPD for a period that covered about 2 or 3 months. So now, what are the mechanics of that? I mean, that information has to be inputted into our system before the prosecutors and the public defenders can even get involved. So that was a huge challenge. So what did we do? We simply answered the call by saying, okay, this is our challenge. We know we don't have enough people. So let's essentially rally and ask our people across the state, the folks in Maui, the folks on the Big Island, the people who work in the clerk's office, whether they would be able to help. We asked the staff that work in circuit court, because this was primarily a district court problem. And we had maybe 60 to 70 people volunteer. And so we were able to clear up that backlog fairly quickly. We were ready to start jury trials in July. I mean, we had it all figured out in terms of how we were going to move different spaces and use of spaces around, because we weren't going to be able to do certain things in the normal sort of setting of a courtroom. So let's take the selection of a jury, for example. That requires a number of people coming to court, so we had to have the space, and we don't have the courtroom space, so we moved it over to district court. Now, what happened is that there was a surge in the summer, and we had to sort of all back down. Now we have started jury trial. That has been limited to sort of the smaller cases. We now, by the end of March or earlier, will be able to do larger cases. And what we're going to do is we're going to think outside the box. So what we've done is we've come up with a plan where we're going to use the atrium downstairs. We have a multi-purpose room on the 3rd floor, and we have another room on the 2nd floor. So if we have a jury pool of 70, we're going to divide them up.
So the judiciary is being really creative with space, and you're really using your people creatively to do the IT that's got to be involved and coordinating. So it's a lot of coordination too.
Right, and the other thing that is something that you as a representative know. I mean, we're trying to deal with the economic realities that we're facing.
And I will say that one of the bills that the legislature is looking at is how can we ensure in times like this, government agencies are not charging for that space, because that's simply like, it's just moving money, robbing Peter to pay Paul kind of thing. And so those are the kinds of things that we've learned how to assist groups like the judiciary.
Yeah.
Well, can I just end on one topic and explore with you? So I know you are a very big fan of mediation and problem solving and alternative dispute resolution. So what is that like in times of COVID? And are we seeing more of it in the arena of things like family court or eviction proceedings? Is mediation continuing to play a big role, and do you foresee that continuing as well?
I think so. I'm actually going to be on a panel of national experts talking about this particular issue. But the sense is across the nation that mediation, even virtually, is sometimes much more effective than doing it in person. We've continued to do, for example, when we talk about mediation, the judicial or the judiciary sort of role in that realm is to do settlement conferences. And we continue to do settlement conferences. All our judges know how important it is to resolve conflict. You know, allowing someone in a black robe who you don't know, have no idea who they are, what their values are, who, in my situation, when I had red hair, sort of was a carbon copy of Ronald McDonald, you kind of have to have an understanding that, why let a complete stranger take control of your life? The value of mediation is that you're not going to get everything you want, but you're going to have control of your life. And you're going to be able to make the decisions. And yeah, it's going to require compromise. But that's a lot easier to live with than a complete stranger imposing whatever decision it is.
So it's been really great talking with you, Judge, and I think to hear that the courts really never shut down during the pandemic, that you folks were always open, that your staff did a heroic job in addressing some of these issues was really good to learn.
It's heartwarming every day to look around, not just at the folks that work in this building or any of our other buildings, but to look around and see so many individuals who are heroes. They may be unsung, but they're heroes and they're inspirational. And so it makes what we do very small, and I'm so appreciative to be living in this community and to have leadership we have across our state government.
I want to thank Judge Browning for sharing with me the work of the judiciary. It's great to see the courts continuing to operate while also ensuring access to justice for our people.